The crystal chandeliers cast shadows across my parents' sneering faces as they raised their wine glasses at that elegant dinner. "Your little craft hobby is just burning money," my father declared to our entire extended family. I smiled, placed my black card on the mahogany table, and said quietly, "Then let's see how many things this hobby can buy that you're desperately missing." That night, I switched to strategy mode, recording everything, documenting their words, planning my revenge right there in my project notebook while they laughed at their own cleverness. My name is Amelia Hart, and I've spent 32 years learning that blood isn't always thicker than water. Sometimes it's just more toxic. The Seaward House Private Club stretched along the Ashley River like a monument to old Charleston money. Persian rugs absorbed footsteps, crystal decanters caught September light, and every piece of silverware had been polished to mirror perfection. This was where my parents, Gregory and Lorna Hart, held court among what they called our kind of people. I should have known something was wrong when Mother insisted on the family dinner. The invitation came wrapped in sweetness. "Darling, we haven't all been together in ages. Tyler's flying in from Atlanta. Wear something appropriate." My brother Tyler arrived first. Of course. Golden boy, real estate mogul, walking advertisement for everything our parents valued. His handshake still felt like a competition. His smile still didn't reach his eyes. Still playing with sawdust. "Mia," he asked, using my childhood nickname like a weapon. "Still destroying wetlands for golf courses." "Ty," I countered, watching his jaw tighten. The dining room filled with aunts, uncles, cousins, the full Hart dynasty arranged around a table that could seat 20. Father sat at the head, Mother at his right, Tyler at his left. I was placed strategically in the middle, surrounded like prey. The attack came between the second and third course. "Amelia has been pursuing her creative ventures," Father began, his voice carrying that particular tone reserved for disappointments. "We've been patient, haven't we, Lorna?" "So patient," Mother agreed, touching her pearls. "But there comes a time when hobbies must end and real life must begin." I set down my fork carefully, feeling the weight of every eye in the room. "Harbor and Finch isn't a hobby. We're launching our AR app next month. Maple and Roebuck is interested in Harbor and Finch," Tyler interrupted, laughing. "You named your craft project after street corners? How quaint." The room rippled with polite chuckles. I felt my phone recording in my pocket. South Carolina's one-party consent law making every word admissible. "Your little workshop is hemorrhaging money," Father continued, swirling his Bordeaux. "Your mother and I have discussed it. We're cutting off all support, financial and otherwise. It's time you sold that warehouse and joined Tyler's development project. He needs someone to handle interior staging much more suitable." "Interior staging," I repeated flatly. "Think about it, darling," Mother added, her voice honeyed poison. "You could still work with furniture, just appropriately. Not this embarrassing pretense of being some sort of entrepreneur. It's unseemly, really. What will people think?" What people thought. The Hart family motto, unspoken but carved into every interaction. I reached for my water glass, my hand steady despite the rage building in my chest. "You're right. I should think about what people will think." Finally. "Some sense," Uncle Robert muttered from across the table. "They'll think it's interesting," I continued, "that you're trying to force me out of my company 3 weeks before our Series A closes. They'll think it's fascinating that you need my intellectual property as collateral for the Heritage Inn refinancing. They'll think it's absolutely riveting that you've been telling the country club I'm mentally unstable to lay groundwork for a competency claim." The silence hit like a thunderclap. Tyler recovered first. "You're paranoid. This is exactly the kind of email threads. Tyler. Date-stamped, cloud-backed email threads. Did you really think BCCing your assistant made you untraceable?" Father's face had gone from red to purple. "You ungrateful. Grateful." I stood slowly, placing my napkin beside my plate with deliberate precision. "Grateful that you're trying to steal my company to prop up your failing investments. grateful that you've spent years telling everyone my little craft hobby while secretly calculating its value. Sit down, Mother hissed. You're making a scene. No, I'm making an exit. I pulled out my phone, stopped the recording with a deliberate tap. And I'm making sure everything said tonight is preserved for my attorney. Nadia Rook sends her regards. By the way, the mention of Charleston's most ruthless corporate lawyer changed the atmosphere instantly. Good. Let them sweat. You hired a lawyer against your own family. Mother's voice broke into something almost genuine, almost. You tried to steal from your own daughter, I countered, which is worse. I picked up my purse, leaving my full plate as evidence of the meal interrupted. At the doorway, I turned back to the table of frozen faces, sterling silver still gleaming between their hands. The warehouse you want me to sell, it's shipping 2,000 units next month. The craft project you mock, it's sustainable furniture made from hurricane salvage that helps rebuild communities. The daughter you're ashamed of, she's about to make her first million while you're secretly mortgaging your legacy to stay afloat. I walked through the Seward House lobby, past the portraits of old Charleston families who built their fortunes on things they'd rather forget. The valet brought my car a sensible Honda, not the Mercedes they'd expected me to buy. As I drove back toward my workshop, toward my real life, I thought about family and blood and water. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. Tonight was just the match strike. They wanted a war. They just didn't know I'd already won it. The text came at 2:43 a.m., 3 nights after the dinner disaster. Unknown number, Charleston area code. They're moving faster than you think. Check your email. J. I sat up in my workshop's back office, where I'd been sleeping on a salvaged daybed between production runs. The email was there, forwarded from an address I didn't recognize. June, with Takara Cloud Accounting, net. June Whitaker, Tyler's ex-girlfriend from Clemson, now working at a forensic accounting firm downtown. I'd helped her once, years ago, when Tyler left her with a lease she couldn't break. Apparently, she hadn't forgotten. The forwarded email chain made my blood run cold. From Tyler Hart to Gregory Hart. Lorna Hart, subject, Re-Paper Flowers Initiative Dad. Confirming our discussion. We proceed with documenting A's erratic financial decisions. I've got Marcus at Palmetto Community Bank ready to flag her accounts for unusual activity once we establish pattern. Mom's charity circle is already primed with concerns about her mental state. Timeline 30 days to establish incompetence narrative. 60 days to force sale or transfer. The Harbor and Finch IP valuation came back at $3.2 million minimum, more than enough to cover Heritage Inn and leave room for the Kiowa development. The workshop lease is month to month. Once we have control, eviction is straightforward. T. My hands shook as I scrolled through more messages. Paper Flowers Initiative. They'd codenamed their plan to destroy me. Paper flowers, fake, hollow, meant to look real from a distance. I called Nadia Rook at 6 a.m. She answered on the first ring. I'm in my office, she said simply. Bring everything. Nadia's firm occupied a converted mansion on Meeting Street, all exposed brick and modern glass where slave quarters once stood. She reviewed the emails with the intensity of a surgeon planning a procedure, her dark eyes catching every detail. They're conspiring to commit fraud, she said finally. Corporate theft, defamation, potentially involuntary commitment based on false premises. This is criminal, Amelia. I don't want them in jail. I want them stopped. She smiled, sharp as winter light. Then we get surgical. First, we protect your assets. How's your corporate structure? Single member LLC. I own everything outright. Not anymore. She pulled out a legal pad, sketching boxes and arrows. We're creating a holding company, Delaware-based. Transfer the IP to a creative trust. Make yourself the beneficiary but not the owner. They can't take what you don't technically possess. How fast can we move? I'll have documents ready by noon, but that's just defense. For offense. She tapped her pen against her teeth. June Whitaker. Would she testify? She's risking her job sending me these. Then we protect her too. Whistleblower documentation, sealed affidavit. If they retaliate against her, we add witness intimidation to the pile. I spent the morning at her conference table, signing documents that carved my life's work into legal fragments, each piece protected by different laws, different jurisdictions. It felt like dismantling myself to become bulletproof. Now, Nadia said, once the last signature was notarized, tell me about this Maple and Roebuck deal. They want exclusive East Coast distribution for our modular line, but they're nervous about production capacity. And if your family spooks them, deal dies, company dies, they win. She stood, moving to her window overlooking Charleston Harbor. Then we need witness statements before your family can poison the well. Every employee, every vendor, every satisfied customer. We build a wall of credibility they can't breach. That's dozens of people. Starting now. She turned back, her expression carved from stone. We also need your books professionally audited, not just reviewed forensically verified. Every dollar in, every dollar out, triple-checked and certified. That'll cost $15,000, maybe $20,000. Can you swing it? I thought about my operating account, already stretched thin from ramping up production. I'll make it work. Good. Because once we file the restraining order against your family's interference, they'll claim you're paranoid, unstable. We need proof that would satisfy a judge that you're the only rational actor in this tragedy. She assigned me a paralegal, Marcus Chin, no relation to my family's banker Marcus, thankfully who specialized in corporate documentation. We spent the next 3 days building what Nadia called the fortress contracts, certifications, testimonials, financial records going back 3 years. Miles Ortega, my CTO, didn't even blink when I explained the situation. Your family sounds like they're from a telenovela, he said, then started pulling AR app development documentation. Every commit, every test, every user feedback survey, they want to question your competence. Let them argue with the code. Ray Donovan worked through the night photographing our entire inventory, creating a visual catalog that proved the quality of our work. Bishop Klein compiled our supply chain documentation, showing the hurricane salvage contracts, the local employment we'd created, the environmental certifications we'd earned. But the smoking gun came from June. In another 3 message. They hired a psychiatrist, Dr. Martin Fairweather. He's prepared to testify about your delusional entrepreneur syndrome based on conversations with your mother. He's never met you. Check attached. The attachment was a draft diagnosis, complete with recommended treatment, immediate conservatorship, medication for manic episodes, potential involuntary commitment if she resists intervention. I forwarded it to Nadia with one word, now. Her response was immediate, now. The war had begun before I even knew I was fighting, but I'd spent years building something real while they built their paper flowers. They thought they were crushing a dreamer. They were about to meet a CEO. The workshop at 4:30 a.m. smelled like cedar and possibility. I stood in the center of our production floor, surrounded by the skeleton frames of our Low Country Lines collection, while my team gathered around the assembly table I'd salvaged from a closed furniture factory 2 years ago. We have 72 hours to prove we can fill the Maple and Roebuck order, I announced, holding up the preliminary purchase agreement. 2,000 units a month, starting in 45 days. They're sending an inspection team Monday. Miles Ortega pulled up the AR app on his tablet. The software's ready. We can demo the full room visualization, real-time customization, everything, but without the physical inventory to back it up. We build it. Bishop Klein interrupted, already calculating on his phone. Double shifts. I can pull in my cousin's crew from the Somerville shop. They're between contracts. That's 12 more skilled workers, Ray Donovan added, sketching modifications on her notepad. If we simplify the joinery on the modular pieces just temporarily, for the demonstration units we can cut assembly time by 40% without compromising visible quality. I loved my team. While my family plotted my destruction over wine and spite, These people strategized my success over coffee and determination. Budget. I asked, though I already knew the answer would hurt. $28,000 for materials, $15,000 for additional labor, maybe $3,000 for expedited shipping on hardware. Bishop calculated. Call it $50,000 all in. I had $32,000 in operating capital. The audit Nadia demanded would eat another $20,000. I needed $70,000 I didn't have. I'll handle the money, I said, projecting confidence I didn't feel. You handle the miracle. The workshop exploded into controlled chaos. Saws whined, Sanders hummed, and the sweet smell of cut pine filled the air. I retreated to my office and made the call I'd been dreading. Palmetto Green Fund, David speaking. David, it's Amelia Hart. I need to discuss a bridge loan against my Maple and Roebuck purchase order. There was a pause. Amelia, I heard some concerning things at the club yesterday. Something about financial instability. My father's network was already working. I kept my voice steady. David, you've seen my books. You know my trajectory. I'm offering a signed PO from a national retailer as collateral. The terms, given the circumstances, we'd need 25% and a personal guarantee. Highway robbery. Normal terms would be 10%, but I needed this. Send the paperwork. I signed away another piece of my soul, then called Nadia. They're already poisoning the banking relationships. Expected. Document everything. Every unusually harsh term. Every suddenly suspicious banker. It's evidence of tortious interference. By Sunday night, the workshop looked like a high-end showroom. 60 pieces stood in perfect formation, modular sofas that could reshape from family gathering to intimate conversation, coffee tables that expanded for dinner parties, shelving systems that grew with their owners' lives. Each piece was tagged with a QR code linking to its AR visualization. The wood gleamed under the industrial lights golden pine from trees felled by Hurricane Matthew, dark walnut from a demolished 1850s warehouse, river cypress from a collapsed dock. Every board had a story, a second chance at being useful. It's beautiful, Ray said, exhausted but glowing. They'd be idiots not to sign. Monday arrived gray and humid. The Maple and Roebuck team showed up at 9 a.m. Sharp 3 executives in pressed khakis and polos, tablets in hand, expressions neutral. Then Tyler walked in behind them. Hope you don't mind, he said, that familiar smirk playing on his lips. I'm consulting for Maple and Roebuck on sustainable sourcing. Thought I should evaluate potential partners. The blood drained from Ray's face. Bishop's hands clenched, but I smiled, real and warm. Of course, Tyler. Let me show you what actual sustainable business looks like. I guided the tour like I was conducting a symphony. Every station demonstrated not just quality, but ethics. The wood sourcing wall showed photographs of each salvage site, GPS coordinates, donation receipts to the affected communities. The employee board featured our living wage certifications, health insurance documentation, and the profit-sharing agreement I'd implemented 6 months ago. Your QR system, one executive said, scanning a dining table. This is proprietary, patent pending, miles confirmed, demonstrating how customers could visualize the piece in their own space, change finishes, adjust dimensions. We're the only furniture company offering this level of customization with sustainable materials. Tyler tried 3 times to raise concerns. The kiln drying process, the structural integrity, the scalability. Each time, I had documentation, certifications, or a live demonstration that shut him down. The killing blow came when the lead executive asked about our supply chain stability. Actually, Tyler interjected, I've heard there are some questions about the lumber sources, possibly illegally harvested. I pulled out my phone, projecting onto the workshop wall. Every single piece of wood we use is documented here. Satellite imagery of the salvage sites, chain of custody forms, environmental impact statements. We're not just sustainable, we're regenerative. We take what storms and time have broken and make them valuable again. Unlike some developers, Bishop added quietly, who tear down historic neighborhoods for generic condos. Tyler's face flushed, but the executives were absorbed in the documentation. This is impressive, the lead said finally. More thorough than companies 10 times your size. We believe in doing things right the first time, I replied, looking directly at Tyler. No shortcuts, no deception, no paper flowers pretending to be real. Tyler stiffened at the phrase. He knew that I knew. The lead executive pulled me aside as they prepared to leave. We'll need final numbers by Thursday, but I can tell you unofficially we're very interested. Your brother seemed to think you weren't ready for this scale, but I see nothing but professionalism here. My brother, I said carefully, has his own agenda. He nodded slowly. Family business can be complicated. We evaluate based on merit. Ms. Hart, not nepotism. As their cars pulled away, Tyler lingered, his rental BMW looking out of place among our work trucks. You think you're clever, he said quietly. I think I'm prepared, I corrected. There's a difference. Dad won't let this happen. Dad doesn't get a vote anymore. I turned back to my workshop, my team, my dream made real. Tell him and Mother they're welcome to tour anytime. I'll even scan the QR codes for them, show them how innovation actually works. Tyler left without another word, his tires spraying gravel like a tantrum. That night, I sat in my workshop as my team celebrated with beer and pizza. The Maple and Roebuck contract would change everything: validation, revenue, proof that Harbor and Finch was more than my family's dismissive sneers. My phone buzzed. June Whitaker again. They're escalating. Be ready. I looked around at what we'd built, at the people who believed in something beyond bloodlines and bank accounts. Let them come. We were ready. The whispers started at the Charleston Small Business Alliance meeting Tuesday morning. I watched it spread like spilled wine across white linen heads turning, conversations stopping mid-sentence, eyes sliding away when I approached. Amelia, Sandra Morrison, who ran a boutique on King Street, touched my arm gently, too gently. How are you? Feeling fine, Sandra. Why? It's just, your mother mentioned at the Heritage Foundation tea that you've been under tremendous stress, working all night, talking to yourself in the workshop. My mother, of course. The Heritage Foundation tea was Charleston's gossip distribution center, disguised as charity work. I talked to my team. Sandra, we're filling a national order. Of course, dear. Her smile was pitying. Just remember to take care of yourself. By noon, 3 suppliers had called to verify payment terms. By 2 p.m., my lumber vendor wanted cash on delivery instead of net 30. By 4 p.m., Bishop texted me, 2 of my crew just quit, said they heard the company's folding. I called an emergency all hands at 5 p.m. They're trying to destroy us through whispers, I said, standing on a sawbore so everyone could see me. My family is spreading rumors that I'm unstable, that the company's failing, that you won't get paid. So let me be clear, our accounts have $47,000. The Maple and Roebuck contract guarantees $2.4 million in the first year. Your jobs are safe. Your paychecks are safe. But are you safe? Ray asked quietly. I pulled out my phone and showed them the email from Dr. Martin Fairweather, the psychiatrist who'd never met me but was prepared to testify about my condition. They're trying to have me declared incompetent. If they succeed, they take Harbor and Finch. The workshop went silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights. That's fucked up, Miles said finally. That's family, I corrected. Bishop stood up, all 6'4" of him. What do you need from us? Keep building. Document everything. And if anyone asks about my mental state, tell them the truth. I'm the sanest person you know, building something real while others trade in lies. Wednesday brought the real assault. I arrived at the workshop to find my business account frozen. The note from Palmetto Community Bank was clinical, pending review of account holder capacity. Marcus from the bank, Tyler's friend, had made his move. Nadia met me at the bank within an hour, her heels clicking like a countdown on the marble floor. On what grounds? She demanded, her voice carrying across the lobby. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. We've received concerning information about Ms. Hart's financial decision-making. We have a fiduciary duty. You have a duty not to commit tortious interference. Nadia interrupted, sliding a cease and desist letter across his desk. Unfreeze the accounts now, or we file suit this afternoon. Conspiracy to commit fraud, violation of banking regulations, and defamation. Would you like me to add your personal name to the lawsuit? Marcus. Or just the bank's? His face went pale. I need to consult with legal. You have 2 hours, Nadia said. After that, we go public. Local bank freezes woman-owned business account based on family gossip makes a great headline, doesn't it? We spent those 2 hours at a coffee shop drafting contingencies. If Palmetto wouldn't budge, we'd move to Coastal Foundry Credit Union. If suppliers demanded cash, we'd offer partial payment plus interest. If employees got spooked, we'd offer small equity stakes as retention bonuses. You're giving away pieces of your company, Nadia warned. Better than losing all of it. The call came at 3:47 p.m. The accounts were unfrozen, with apologies for the misunderstanding, but the damage was done. Word had spread that Harbor and Finch had banking problems. Thursday morning, I woke to find my workshop vandalized. Not obviously nothing broken or stolen. But someone had been inside, moved things around, left drawers open. A message we can get to you anywhere. I called the police, filed a report, installed new cameras. Then I called my team. Double security from now on. Nobody works alone. And nobody gets inside without verification. You think your family did this? Miles asked. I think they're desperate. The Maple and Roebuck deal threatens their entire narrative. If I succeed this publicly, their story falls apart. That afternoon, my mother appeared at the workshop. She stood in the doorway like she was afraid the sawdust might contaminate her St. John suit. This has gone far enough, Amelia. You're right, it has. Come home. We'll work this out as a family. The family that hired a psychiatrist to declare me incompetent. She had the grace to look uncomfortable. That was Tyler's idea. Your father just wants what's best. My father wants my intellectual property to save his failing real estate ventures. How dare you! Financial records, mother! They're beautiful things. Heritage Inn is 3 months behind on mortgage payments. The Kiowa development has no investors. You're bleeding money, and you thought I'd be your transfusion. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. You're going to destroy the family name. No, I'm going to save mine. We made you. You made me desperate. You made me ashamed of my dreams. You made me feel small for wanting something different. But you didn't make me. Mother, I made myself. In spite of you. She pulled out her checkbook, actual paper checks. Because of course. How much to make this stop? How much to walk away quietly? I looked at the check, at her perfectly manicured fingers holding the Mont Blanc pen, at the number she'd written $500,000. You think you can buy me out of my own life? Everyone has a price? Mine's $2.4 million a year, paid by Maple and Roebuck, for furniture that helps communities rebuild. Can you match that? She put the checkbook away, her face hardening. You're making a mistake. I'm making furniture, and a future. Without you. As she left, Ray emerged from the back room where she'd been listening. $500,000 is a lot of money, she said carefully. It's not enough to buy my soul back from people who never valued it in the first place. Friday arrived with an email from Maple and Roebuck. Contract approved. Initial payment of $200,000 upon signing. Welcome to the family. I signed it at 11:59 p.m., surrounded by my real family, the people who built dreams with their hands instead of tearing them down with their words. The war wasn't over, but I'd won this battle. The Maple and Roebuck inspection team arrived Monday at 8 a.m., sharp 4 executives this time, including their senior VP of Sustainability, Patricia Brennan. Tyler walked in behind them again, but now there was someone else with him, a man in a poorly fitted suit carrying a folder marked Environmental Compliance Associates. This is Mr. Jeffries, Tyler announced. He has some concerns about Harbor and Finch's sourcing practices. I kept my expression neutral while my mind raced. Environmental compliance associates didn't exist. I'd have known them. This was theater, and we were the unwitting audience. Welcome, Mr. Jeffries, I said smoothly. I'm happy to address any concerns. Shall we start with our documentation center? I led them to what we called the war room. Every certificate, every permit, every chain of custody form displayed on magnetic boards, QR codes linked to digital copies. A monitor showed real-time GPS tracking of our current salvage operation in Georgetown County. Patricia Brennan studied the wall like she was reading a novel. This is extraordinary. Most companies keep these in filing cabinets. Transparency isn't just a buzzword for us, I replied, watching Jeffries fumble with his folder. These permits, he said suddenly, pulling out a photocopied document. I have information that the storm salvage from Winya Bay violated protected wetland regulations. Miles stepped forward with his tablet. Winya Bay, Lot 47 through 52, collected October 15th through 18th. Here's the county permit, state environmental approval, and he swiped to a new screen. The thank you letter from the Coastal Conservation League for helping clear debris that was damaging the ecosystem. Jeffries blinked. But this photograph shows that photograph, Bishop interrupted, zooming in on the image Jeffries held, is from Huntington Beach State Park, taken in 2019. You can see the date stamp in the corner if you look closely. Different location, different year, different storm. The room went silent. Patricia Brennan turned slowly to Tyler. Mr. Hart, is this your consultant's standard of research? Tyler's face flushed. There must be some confusion. The only confusion, I said quietly, is why someone would falsify environmental violations against a company that's won 3 sustainability awards this year. I pulled up our newest feature on the main screen, the full supply chain visualization Miles had been perfecting. Every piece of wood appeared as a dot on a map, color-coded by source-type storm salvage green, demolished structures blue, urban tree removal yellow. Selecting any dot showed photographs, permits, and the furniture pieces created from that specific material. This is blockchain verified, Patricia asked. Her interest clearly piqued. As of last month, yes. Every piece we produce has an immutable record from source to sale. Impressive, she said, then turned to Jeffries. Do you have any legitimate concerns? Or are we done with this charade? Jeffries mumbled something about needing to verify his sources and slunk toward the door. Tyler started to follow, but Patricia's voice stopped him. Mr. Hart, Maple and Roebuck takes false accusations seriously. If you're consulting for us, we expect better. After Tyler left, the real inspection began. The team examined everything: production capacity, quality control, employee training records, financial projections. They interviewed my staff privately, tested the AR app with their own phones, even checked our insurance policies. At lunch, Patricia pulled me aside. Your brother tried to sabotage this deal 3 times last week. Called our CEO directly, said you were unstable. My stomach clenched, and our CEO looked up Harbor and Finch himself. Found the Charleston Innovation Award you won, the feature in Southern Living, the testimonials from customers whose homes you helped rebuild after Hurricane Florence. Then he looked up your brother's development company. 3 lawsuits for environmental violations, 2 for breach of contract. She smiled. We prefer to work with the ethical sibling. The inspection continued through the afternoon. They tested joint strength, measured moisture content, verified our production timelines. Every test, we passed. Every question, we had answers. At 4 p.m., the team gathered for final discussions. I could see them through my office window, heads together, tablets out, occasionally gesturing toward different parts of the workshop. Ray sat beside me, nervously sketching. What if they won't? I interrupted, though my heart was racing. We're solid. At 4:47 p.m., they called me over. Patricia stood formally. Ms. Hart, we need to discuss some adjustments to the contract. My heart sank. Here it came, the reduction. the conditions, the escape clauses. We'd like to increase the initial order by 40% and expand territories to include the Southwest region. Can you handle 3,500 units monthly by Q2? I kept my voice steady despite the joy exploding in my chest. With the right equipment upgrades, absolutely. Good. We're also interested in exclusive rights to your AR platform for furniture retail. We'll discuss licensing separately, but expect 7 figures annually. 7 figures. For technology Tyler had called playing with toys. Furthermore, Patricia continued, we want Harbor and Finch as our featured sustainable partner for our spring campaign. National advertising, Ms. Hart, your story, your products, your values coast to coast. Behind her, I saw one of the executives pull up a presentation on his tablet. The mock-up showed our furniture in staged homes, with crafted from crisis, built for life as the tagline. My workshop, my team, my salvaged wood all positioned as the future of sustainable luxury. There's one condition, Patricia said, and my joy stuttered. We need assurance that your family situation won't create instability. I stood straighter. My attorney, Nadia Rook, has documentation showing clear ownership, protected intellectual property, and legal remedies against any interference. Harbor and Finch stands independent of Hart family drama. Perfect. Have her send everything to our legal department. Patricia extended her hand. Welcome to the Maple and Roebuck family, a functional one. I promise. As their cars pulled away, my team erupted. Bishop actually picked me up and spun me around. Miles was already calculating server upgrades for the AR platform expansion. Ray was crying, sketching new designs through her tears. I stepped outside, needing air, and found June Whitaker standing by her car. Heard you might be hiring, she said simply. I'm done being Tyler's collateral damage. Could use a good forensic accountant. Starting salary's not what you're making now, but the equity might be worth something someday. She smiled. Besides, I kept records of every shady deal Tyler ever mentioned. Might be useful if they escalate. I hired her on the spot. That night, I sat alone in my workshop, surrounded by the furniture we'd built from broken things. Each piece carried the DNA of disaster transformed into something useful, beautiful, lasting. My phone buzzed. A text from my father. You've made your point. Come to the conservatory fundraiser Saturday. We'll discuss terms. Terms. Like this was a negotiation, like they still had cards to play. I typed back, I'll be there, but I'm bringing my lawyer. The real show was about to begin. The Whitmore Conservatory glowed like a crystal palace against Saturday's purple dusk. Japanese maples framed the entrance. And inside, Charleston's elite circulated between the orchid displays and champagne stations. This was my parents' kingdom where they held court, made deals, and destroyed reputations between canapes and small talk. I arrived at 7:15 p.m., deliberately late enough to make an entrance. My dress was deliberate too-sharp black blazer over silk pants, my grandmother's pearl necklace the only concession to their world. Nadia walked beside me in navy blue, her briefcase a weapon disguised as an accessory. Patricia Brennan from Maple and Roebuck stood near the fountain, which hadn't been planned but felt like destiny. Ms. Hart, she called out warmly. I didn't know you were a conservatory supporter. My family's been involved for years, I replied, watching my mother's face tighten from across the room. The crowd naturally parted as we moved through it, some from curiosity, others from the electricity that follows confrontation. Tyler stood with a cluster of commercial developers, his voice carrying as we approached. Emotional decision-making is the death of business. Take my sister's little project. All heart, no strategy. That's why successful companies need rational leadership, like Maple and Roebuck. I interrupted smoothly. They seemed quite rational when they chose Harbor and Finch as their exclusive sustainable partner. 7 figures for the AR platform alone, wasn't it? Patricia. Patricia smiled. 8 figures once we include the furniture contract. Your sister's little project had the best margins we've seen in 5 years. Tyler's audience suddenly found other conversations urgently needed their attention. My father materialized at my elbow, his smile never reaching his eyes. Amelia, we should talk privately. Nothing private about family, right, Dad? Isn't that what you always said? The hearts stand together in public. Mother joined us, her fingers tight on her champagne flute. You're making a spectacle. I'm making a point. I gestured to Nadia, who opened her briefcase with theatrical precision. Before we discuss anything, Nadia said, her voice carrying just enough to draw nearby attention, my client needs to address the matter of defamation, tortious interference, and conspiracy to commit fraud. This is neither the time nor— Father started. Actually, I interrupted, pulling out my phone. It's perfect timing. The conservatory's spring fundraiser is about transparency in environmental protection, isn't it? Let's be transparent. I connected my phone to the presentation system, a donor privilege I'd secured that afternoon with a strategic contribution. The main screen, normally showing conservation victories, flickered to life with my evidence. So, these are emails, I began, my voice steady as a newsreader, between Gregory Hart, Lorna Hart, and Tyler Hart, discussing what they called Paper Flowers Initiative, a plan to have me declared mentally incompetent to seize control of Harbor and Finch. The room had gone cathedral quiet. 300 of Charleston's most influential citizens watched as email after email appeared on screen. This one's particularly interesting, I continued, highlighting Tyler's message about the falsified environmental violations. Creating fake documentation to destroy a sustainable business. The Coastal Conservation League might find that fascinating. Don't you think? Turn it off, Mother hissed. Why you weren't shy about spreading rumors at your Heritage Foundation tea, about telling anyone who'd listen that I was unstable, delusional, manic. Dr. Martin Fairweather. Are you here tonight? The psychiatrist who diagnosed me without ever meeting me. A thin man near the bar seemed to shrink into his suit. There he is, I said pleasantly. Tell me, doctor, is diagnosing someone you've never examined considered ethical? The medical board would love to know. My father stepped forward, his face now purple with rage. Enough. What do you want? I want the truth acknowledged, I replied. Publicly. Nadia pulled out a document. This is a settlement agreement. The Hart family will cease all interference with Harbor and Finch, pay damages of $150,000 for defamation and business interference, issue a public apology to be published in the Post and Courier, and sign a permanent non-contact order. Alternatively, I added, we proceed with the lawsuit. Discovery will be fascinating. How many other businesses have you sabotaged? How many other lives have you tried to control through whispers and lies? The silence stretched like pulled taffy. Around us. Charleston's elite watched the Hart dynasty crack in real time. Someone was definitely recording on their phone. You're destroying us, Mother whispered. No, I corrected. I'm leaving you. There's a difference. Gregory's voice came out strangled. If we sign, this all stays quiet. The emails disappear, the lawsuit never gets filed. But the truth. I looked around the room at all the watching faces. That's already out there. Patricia Brennan stepped forward. Mr. Hart, Mrs. Hart, I think you should know that Maple and Roebuck has reconsidered all our regional partnerships. We prefer to work with ethical businesses. Your development proposals are no longer under consideration. The dominoes were falling. I watched as other business leaders stepped back from my family, creating a subtle but unmistakable circle of isolation. Tyler grabbed the settlement agreement, his hands shaking. This is extortion. This is consequence, Nadia corrected. Your signature or a lawsuit? Choose. They signed. Right there, under the crystal chandeliers, surrounded by the people whose opinion they valued more than their daughter's dreams. Each signature looked like it physically hurt them. When the last name was inked, I took the agreements and handed them to Nadia. Then I did something I hadn't planned. I walked to the microphone at the donor's podium. Good evening, everyone. I'm Amelia Hart of Harbor and Finch. I wanted to thank the conservatory for this beautiful space and announce that Harbor and Finch will be donating $50,000 to support coastal restoration, funded entirely by our sustainable furniture sales. We believe in transforming destruction into beauty, whether that's hurricane damage or— I paused, looking directly at my family. Other kinds of storms. The applause started slowly, then built. People approached me with business cards, partnership ideas, words of support. My parents stood frozen, watching their carefully cultivated world reorganize itself around their discarded daughter. As I finally moved toward the exit, my mother intercepted me one last time. "Was it worth it?" she asked, her voice broken. "Destroying your family for a furniture company." "You destroyed our family years ago?" I replied. "When you decided I was worth less because I didn't fit your mold. I just documented it." I walked out into the Charleston night, where the air smelled like Confederate jasmine and freedom. Nadia waited by the car, settlement papers secure in her briefcase. "That was quite a performance," she said. "That was quite a finale," I corrected. "Now the real work begins." Behind us, through the conservatory's glass walls, I could see my family still standing where I'd left them, isolated in their own spotlight, paper flowers wilting under real scrutiny. 3 weeks after the conservatory confrontation, June Whitaker found it. She walked into my office at 9:20 a.m. on a Tuesday, holding a folder like it might explode. "You need to see this," she said, spreading documents across my desk. "I've been tracking your family's financial movements. And there's something you missed." The papers showed a web of transactions, all leading to one name, Hart Heritage Inn, the bed and breakfast my grandparents had built, the crown jewel of the family's old money respectability, was drowning in debt. "They're 3 months from foreclosure," June explained. "But look at this. They've been shopping the debt to private investors, trying to keep it quiet. The bank's about to bundle it with other distressed properties and sell it off." "How much?" $870,000 owed, but distressed debt sells for 60 cents on the dollar. Someone could grab it for about 500,000. I leaned back, pieces clicking together. The Heritage Inn wasn't just property, it was the Hart family's identity. Every wedding, every Christmas, every celebration happened there. Losing it would be social death in Charleston. "Can we buy it?" June smiled. "Already ahead of you. I've set up an SPV Falcon Current LLC. Completely clean. No traceable connection to you. The paperwork's ready." "Where do we get 500,000 Delta Tide Ventures?" Nadia said from the doorway. She'd been listening. Lawyers' instincts always alert. "They've been circling Harbor and Finch for weeks. They want in on sustainable furniture. I've been holding them off. But this changes things," I finished. The next 72 hours moved like a chess match at light speed. Delta Tide agreed to invest $2 million for a 20% stake in Harbor and Finch, valuing my company at $10 million. The terms were clean, no control provisions, no board seats they could manipulate, just capital for growth. Half went to business expansion. The other half went to Falcon Current LLC. On Friday afternoon, Palmetto Community Bank held their distressed asset auction. I sat in a conference room downtown, phone pressed to my ear, as June bid on my behalf. No one knew Falcon Current was me. The other bidders thought it was just another investment fund looking for cheap real estate. "Sold," the auctioneer announced at 2:47 p.m., $870,000 in debt obligations to Falcon Current LLC for $523,000. I owned my family's heritage. They just didn't know it yet. Monday morning arrived with my father in my workshop, uninvited and furious about something else entirely. "You cost us the Briggs development deal," he snarled. "Patricia Brennan told them about your little presentation. $30 million. Gone because of your tantrum." "Consequences," I said simply, continuing to sand a table leg. "You should learn about them." "We're still your family." "No," I interrupted. "Family doesn't hire psychiatrists to declare you insane. Family doesn't try to steal your life's work. You're just people I share DNA with." He stepped closer, using his height advantage. "You think you've won. You have no idea what we can do." "Actually," I said, pulling out my phone, "I know exactly what you can't do. Would you like to discuss the Heritage Inn?" His face went white. "What about it?" "Falcon Current LLC bought your debt from Palmetto. Interesting terms on that loan personally guaranteed by you and Mother. Accelerating clauses if you miss even one payment. You're late on this month's, by the way." You bought?" "I bought the ability to call your debt whenever I choose. 870,000, due immediately upon request. Unless, of course, we negotiate different terms." Nadia appeared with perfect timing, documents in hand. "Mr. Hart, these are your new payment terms. You'll maintain the inn, run it properly, and make monthly payments to Falcon Current. In exchange, we won't foreclose, but there are conditions." I took the documents, reading aloud the key points. "No interference with Harbor and Finch or any of its employees. No defamatory statements about Amelia Hart or her businesses. No attempts to manipulate her personal or professional relationships. Violation of any provision triggers immediate foreclosure." "This is blackmail," he whispered. "This is business," I corrected. "The kind you taught me. Actually, always have leverage. Amelia, never show mercy to competitors." "Your words, Dad." He grabbed the papers, reading frantically. 7 years of this, 7 years of leaving me alone. A bargain, really. And if we refuse, then next Tuesday, the Heritage Inn goes to sheriff's auction. Imagine the Post and Courier headline, "Hart family loses historic property to mismanagement." Your friends at the yacht club will love that. He looked older suddenly, shoulders sagging under his blazer. "Tyler won't agree to this." "Tyler doesn't have a choice. His name's on the guarantee too, unless he has 870,000 lying around." We both knew Tyler had leveraged everything for his failing developments. He was property rich and cash broke, the worst position in a debt crisis. Mother arrived within the hour, having broken several traffic laws. She read the agreements in silence, her face cycling through rage, disbelief, and finally, defeat. "You planned this," she said quietly. "I protected myself," I corrected. "You planned to destroy me. I just got better at the game. The Heritage Inn is your grandmother's legacy. And now it's protected from your mismanagement. I'm not taking it from you, Mother. I'm ensuring you can never use it against me." Tyler showed up last, all bluster and threats until he saw the foreclosure notice Nadia had prepared. His signature was angry slash across the page. 7 years, he muttered. 7 years of this. 7 years of peace, I corrected. For both of us. You stay in your world. I stay in mine. Everyone wins. "You've destroyed our family," Mother said again, her favorite refrain. "No," I said, standing to escort them out. "I've freed myself from it. There's a difference." As they filed out of my workshop, my territory, my terms, Ray approached with a small box. "What's this?" "Something we made for you," she said. The whole team contributed. Inside was a piece of reclaimed heart pine, carved into a simple plaque, built from storms. That night, I stood in my workshop, surrounded by furniture that told stories of survival. Each piece had been broken, discarded, written off as worthless. Each piece had been transformed into something valuable, just like me. June pulled up the Heritage Inn's financial statements. "You could make this profitable, you know, with your eye for restoration." "Maybe," I said, "in 7 years, when the agreement expires. For now, I just want them gone." "And they are," Nadia confirmed, "legally bound to stay away." "You did it, Amelia. You won." I touched the plaque, feeling the grain of wood that had weathered 100 years of storms. "No," I said quietly. "I survived. Then I built. The winning was just a side effect. 6 months later, We were back at the Seward house. Same private dining room, same crystal chandeliers, same mahogany table. But this time, I'd called the meeting. My parents sat across from me like defendants awaiting sentencing. Tyler flanked them, his usual arrogance replaced by something hollow. They'd been summoned through their lawyers a formal request for a final settlement discussion. I placed 3 envelopes on the table, each one precisely aligned. "Envelope A," I said, sliding the first forward, "contains the receipt for your legal fees paid in full by the wire transfer you sent last week. Thank you for your promptness." Mother's fingers twitched toward it but didn't touch. "Envelope B holds your copy of the non-interference agreement, notarized and filed with the court. 7 years of enforced distance, legally binding." Father's jaw clenched, but he remained silent. "And envelope C." I paused, savoring the moment I'd orchestrated for months. "Contains confirmation of Harbor and Finch's distribution agreement with Maple and Roebuck, $23 million over 3 years, with our AR platform licensed separately for another $12 million. Tyler made a sound like he'd been punched. $35 million, I continued. "From the craft hobby you mocked, the little workshop you tried to steal, the delusional dream you attempted to destroy." I stood, smoothing my dress not designer, but perfectly tailored. Success had its privileges, but I'd learned to choose them carefully. "You called my dreams childish games," I said, meeting each of their eyes in turn. "Turns out, childish games just paid off every debt you tried to chain me with and bought back my freedom with 8 figures to spare." Gregory finally spoke, his voice rusted. "What do you want, Amelia? You've won. You've humiliated us, isolated us, taken everything." "I haven't taken anything," I corrected. "I've simply refused to let you take from me. There's a difference." "Then why are we here?" Mother asked. And for once, her voice held genuine confusion instead of manipulation. I pulled out my phone, showing them a photo of Harbor and Finch's newest facility, a restored warehouse in North Charleston, solar panels gleaming on the roof, our logo proud against reclaimed brick. "We're hiring 300 people over the next year, creating a workforce training program for formerly incarcerated individuals, building a supply chain that turns disaster into opportunity. I wanted you to know that our name will be attached to something meaningful, not through you, but despite you." "You're keeping the Hart name?" Tyler asked, surprised. "I'm reclaiming it, making it mean something beyond country clubs and calculated cruelty." I moved toward the door, then turned back one last time. They looked smaller somehow, sitting in their temple of old money and older grievances. "You know what the irony is," I said. "If you just loved me, really loved me, not some version you tried to force me into, you'd be part of this success. We could have built something magnificent together. Instead, you chose control over connection, manipulation over meaning." Father stood abruptly. "We're still your parents. Biologically, yes, but family shows up at 3 a.m. to help sand tables before a deadline. Family celebrates your wins without calculating how to steal them. Family believes in your dreams even when they don't understand them. My team, my lawyers, the people who stood by me, they're my family. You're just people I used to know." I pushed through the heavy wooden door, my heels clicking against marble with the rhythm of freedom. Behind me, I heard Mother say something plea or curse. I couldn't tell and didn't care. Outside, Charleston's evening air wrapped around me like a blessing. The Honda I'd kept my reminder of harder times sat next to their Mercedes and BMWs, unpretentious and reliable. 3 days later, the Post and Courier ran a feature story, "Harbor and Finch from Storm Salvage to National Success." The article mentioned the Hart family only once, noting that founder Amelia Hart overcame significant personal challenges to build her sustainable furniture empire. Significant personal challenges. Such a civilized way to describe attempted destruction. The workshop hummed with purpose now. 3 shifts running. Orders backed up for months. Investors calling daily. Miles had hired a team of developers for the AR platform. Ray was heading design for our new luxury line. Bishop ran operations with military precision. June had become our CFO, turning her forensic skills toward growth instead of revenge. But tonight, I stood alone in the original workshop space, the one where it all started. The same sawdust smell, the same fluorescent buzz, the same dreams, just bigger now, proven now, protected now. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number, but I recognized Mother's new phone immediately. Your grandmother would be proud. Maybe she would. But more importantly, I was proud. Not of the money or the revenge or even the sweet satisfaction of their signatures on those agreements. I was proud that I'd taken their attempt to break me and turned it into the foundation of something unbreakable. Every insult became motivation. Every sabotage became strategy. Every betrayal became a blueprint for better boundaries. I walked to the workbench where that first piece of hurricane pine had become a coffee table, sold now to a family in Vermont who'd never know its origin story. Above it hung the plaque my team had made, built from storms. That's what we all were. Really, not victims of our disasters, but architects of our aftermath, not defined by what tried to destroy us, but by what we chose to create from the wreckage. The workshop door opened. Patricia Brennan entered with a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. "Thought we should toast," she said. "To surviving families who don't deserve us." "To building empires from their underestimation," I countered. "To proving that the best revenge isn't served cold." Patricia smiled, pouring generous glasses. "It's served at precisely the right temperature, with perfect timing and documentation to make it legally binding." We laughed, the sound echoing through the workshop where my real life had begun. Somewhere across Charleston, in a dining room that had witnessed my humiliation, 3 people sat with the consequences of their choices. But here, in a warehouse that smelled like sawdust and possibility, a woman who'd refused to be broken raised her glass to the storms that had tried to fell her and to the furniture she'd built from their wreckage. "Here's to childish games," I said, the bubbles catching light like tiny celebrations. "And to winning them," Patricia agreed. The champagne was perfect, the revenge was complete, but the success, that was just beginning, because the best revenge isn't destruction, it's construction. Building something so beautiful, so valuable, so undeniably excellent that those who doubted you have to watch your rise from the exile they created. They called my dreams childish games. Those games just changed everything. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where in the world you're tuning in from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this tale of triumph over family betrayal resonated with you, please consider subscribing to the channel and sharing your own thoughts. What would you have done in Amelia's position? Your stories and perspectives make this community special. Until next time, keep building from your storms.